2 weeks ago, we talked about being single. And how every stage in life, it's another stage to say, God, I serve you however I am. That's the simple truth about being single. Last week we talked about the meaning of marriage, and everybody had a great time because we all talked about submitting. And everybody loves to do that, right? And the idea of submit to one another out of reverence to Christ. And that's the whole idea. The nutshell of being married, submitting to one another out of reverence to Christ. And this morning we talk one more thing. Talk about the purpose of parenting. Let me lead in this way. There's a man who comes home from work. He is just beat. He's exhausted. Walks in the door and he notices that his wife, she also has that look that she's exhausted too. But she doesn't know how bad a day he's had. So he needs to get it out right away. He says, I've had a really bad day. Things have just went from bad to worse. It's just terrible. So if you could please hold off on all the bad news, and if you could just start with good news, that would be great. And this is obviously a wise woman. She looks at him, she goes, you have 4 wonderful children, and only you have 3 of them that didn't break their arm today. Sometimes it is just tough to be a parent because we have crazy days that cloud our judgment, and we go into them and you're going, I got another fire to put out. It's not always easy. The stresses of being a parent are amplified with children. It's like amplified. They just hit 10, and no, 10's not enough. 11 and more. It's just tougher by days. We watched parents and how our parents lived, and we said, that's our baseline because now I know how to raise kids because I watched my parents or my uncles and aunts or other people. Did you know that there is a book out, Parenting Made Easy? Did anybody ever read it before? I wish I would have read that. That would have solved all my problems. There's another book out there. I saw this one, Parenting for Dummies. Nobody's read that one either, right? We are just totally unprepared for what comes at us as parents. You could have read both these books, and they would have helped a little bit, and maybe given us a little framework. But when you're in the middle of it, you're going, how do I get through this? I'm not up for this job. God, I need your help because I have no idea what I'm doing. Yet we want to raise kids right, don't we? Every parent wants to do what's right. They want their kids to be successful, whatever that means to us. We want them to be healthy. We want them to be better than us, right? God, help me raise my kids right. I'm overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. I'm tired. Stressed out. God, I need your help. And this morning we're going to go to seek God's wisdom on raising kids. And some of us, my kids are already raised. Well, that's okay. But people are looking at you and saying, well, how did you do it? Can you help me? Because they're watching. The Bible gives some great wisdom on being a parent. Let me give you one. We're going to go to the wisest man who lived that we know of. It's King Solomon. He wrote this about being a parent. I'll read it from Psalm 127. Unless the Lord builds a house, the work of the builders is wasted. Unless the Lord protects a city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat, for God gives rest to his loved ones. And children are a gift from the Lord. Children are a gift from the Lord. They're a reward from Him. Children born to a young man are like arrows in the warrior's hands. How joyful is the man whose quiver is full of them. He will not be put to shame when he confronts his accusers at the city gates. I always like the wisdom people in the Bible. Because sometimes they will take 2 or 3 seemingly different and distinct ideas and bring them together for an overarching idea. So this one was all right, let's talk about some basic human needs, like shelter. Everybody needs that. Let's talk about, security. Let's talk about that. And let's bring it together and see what's the common theme here. Well, they're useless if you're going to do them on your own. Unless God is the very center of it, unless He's providing here, you're just spinning your wheels. It's a roll of the dice. Who knows what's going to happen? See, our blessings become burdens without God's presence. We get this idea in our head that we're in charge of all the safety and security and all of our shelter and providing for our needs. We're in charge of this alone, and it's all up to us. And we don't see it as, unless God is helping to bring this to you, it's all going to be spinning your wheels. He says, all right, I'm going to give you my very presence. Do you trust that I will provide for your needs? That I will give you shelter and sustenance, food for your table, safety for your family. I'm going to provide for your basic needs. And if we're going to do it all on our own, we're going, no, it's just going to be a burden all the time. And God says, wait a minute. This is not only for the other parts of your life, this is for your family as well. I am going to bless you. I'm going to give you gifts for life. And even more than that, I'm going to give you this idea of children as a gift from me. And this is the hard part for this morning for lots of people. God doesn't owe us children. It often seems really unfair because the people that would be the best parents ever, they don't get to be parents. They're not given that gift. And those that are just awful parents, we know the stories, and they're just, why would God give them kids? But God has gifted us with children, and they are a gift. There's no mistakes with children. They're all gifts of God. And then even more, they're more than just a gift. They're a short-term gift. It's like when they're on loan. They're here for a limited time only. I think it struck me about 10 years ago. About 10 years ago, just sitting back thinking about life, and I go, in another 6 years, my oldest is going to be out of the house. And it just hit me on that one. She's no longer going to hear her daily history lesson, which is so important in life. Because you all do that, right? You say, you need to hear about this, how important history, because there's nothing changes. You need to know history. You need to know that the best songs created in this world were before the 90s. These are things that she needs to know. And she needs to hear me reenact how I score soccer goals in the old man soccer league that I'm in. And she needs to hear those things, right? In 6 years, she's going to be gone. And I won't be able to have that every so often, every day almost. There's the intensity of parenting that is a short-term thing. It's intense. It really is. Because you're trying to provide, and you're trying to feed them, and you clothe them, and you're trying to deal with all these hormones going all over the place, and it's intense. And then it becomes less intense. It doesn't make you not a parent anymore. It's just less intense. We take our kids from being totally dependent on us. Like a little baby, Serena is totally dependent on her. You're the example right there for today. Thank you. She's just standing right out there. Yeah, I guess I'll do that. This baby is totally dependent on her. And we move them towards less dependence and almost independence. It's really intense right now. The baby's crying. All right, what does she need? All right, and then, okay, it's on her own. And that's our life. And in the middle in here, and in the middle of our lives with our kids, we want to show them that they are gifts from God. And God loves them more than we will ever. Our God loves them. And we want to show them that yes, we love them too. And that's what we do with the intense period down to the less intense. And that's the question. I want to spend the rest of our time in that. How do we do that? There's this intense time, but in all of it, we want to show them that they are gifts of God. We want to treat them as gifts of God. How do we do that? Because that's a big question, isn't it? How do we apply this? All right, God's given us this overarching idea that kids are a gift of God and He needs to be at the center of it. That He has given us this, and that without His work, it's all going to be futile, in vain, a spinning of the wheels. How do we do this? There was a guy named Dr. J. Kessler about 30 years ago. I got to listen to him talk. And he spoke this. The speech was called "What Kids Say When Their Parents Aren't Listening," when their parents aren't around. And it just stuck with me. So the groundwork of the rest of our time comes from what he talked about. This was 30 years ago, which is still so fresh, so relevant for today. I only have 5 of them. There's so many others, but let me give you a couple of them. We need to, if we're going to show our kids that they are gifts of God, we need to stop talking so much. We need to stop talking so much and maybe just listen and just listen. You know, I know this is so difficult, and I say this for myself. I'm the hypocrite of the morning today. In all 5 of these, don't look at like, oh, Matt's nailed that one, yeah. In each one of these, I'm going, oh, I don't do this one. I know that this is so important, and at certain times, I just totally blow it. But I remember talking with lots of parents in my years of youth ministry that they've got teenagers, and the teenagers are like, oh, I'm having trouble with them. And it was always the idea, are you talking with them, or are you just talking all the time? Do you listen at all? Is there communication in there? Is there any, or is it just one way? And most of the time it was just one way, because they haven't adjusted yet. When you have little babies and little kids, most of your time is talking to them, instructing them, telling them, hey, this is not acceptable. No, don't do this. Don't hit your sister. All of these things we're telling them. And much of our talk is because of coercion. We are bigger than you, and you will go to bed. Yes, these are things that we do. But sooner or later, there has to be some listening. Sooner or later, it goes from coercion to persuasion. You know, they get to be older and bigger. Well, I'm not going to be able to coerce them to go to bed on time. I need to say, these are the expectations here. How can we make this happen? You know, some way or another, I want to encourage you to do like triangular conversations as much as possible. Here's an idea. Guy takes his son out fishing. Dad throws his line into the water. Hey, how about that Rams phantom call at you last week? And the son throws his line out there. Yeah, the Bengals got hosed. And Dad throws his line out there. So you know, what would have you done if you got hosed like that? The son throws his, just one after another. It's not, you're doing something while you're talking. You know, a lot of times you go shopping with somebody. Yeah, well, let's get this item. Hey, what did you do the other day? And you're talking. But you're doing it with something that's not so intense like, we need to talk right now. It's triangulate. You're doing something. You know, it's not about the content sometimes. It's just to be able to communicate. It's not talking, it's listening to one another and communicating. You know, what do people at your school think about this? What about this crazy music out there nowadays? Or help me out with this. What's going on there? You know, it's just talking about things and talking as you listen. Kids are a gift from God, and we need to listen to them. Talk with them. Let me give you another one here. If we're going to treat our kids as gifts of God, we need to pick our battles. We need to pick our battles to win the war. I have an especially gifted child. I have 4 children, but this one, I believe this child is the most gifted I have ever seen anyone. This child has the ability to take a totally clean room, and within a few hours, you cannot see the carpeting. I took a picture. You can't say, where's the carpeting in that? That's a gift. Oh my goodness. I'm sure none of us have that gift, right? Now we can get out of that one. I wish this was just a season in life, but I've seen this since this child was born, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. That's just the way things are. And sometimes it looks like his closet's barfed into the living room. And then it's like, wait a minute, this can't happen. And I used to be so upset. And every time we talked, it was like, you need to get this right. This is crazy. You know, sometimes in your room, we can close the door and we don't have to see it, but this is the living room. What's going on? And then I realized, this is how it changed for me. This child's in college, so he gets to bother other people about it. So I noticed that no child ever died of a messy room. I'm spending so much time, and that's our topic of conversation all the time, and all of our time is on this when there are so many other things that are more important. Man, I want you to know what it's like to be a child of God. I want you to know what it means to be loved and to love other people. I want you to know Jesus. There's so many other things in this world as opposed to, oh, you haven't cleaned up your room today. And that just wrecks the conversation right there. We lose sight so often of the big picture because we want to fight all these little battles and we lose the war. Oh, keep focus on the things that are important. And sometimes you just say, okay, I realize it's a battle. It's not for right now. I need to put it to the side because I need to keep that conversation going. And we can talk about it later. I'll just briefly touch it maybe and then say, okay, that's enough. Won't have to talk about it. But choose your battles. Not everything needs to be a huge battle. Keep the main focus. Because children are a gift from God. And we need to be able to win that war that they know Jesus. Let me give you another one here. I have to remember that my children will live up to my expectations of them. My kids are not me. Thank goodness, right? Because anybody who knew me or even still knows me, they're saying, I don't think that they need to have that talent or that gift or that dysfunction or whatever have you. My children are not me. Therefore, in their whatever situation that they're in, they will not always act like I would. Even though when I was younger, I might have done something a certain way, doesn't mean my kids will. It doesn't mean that they will. Oh, I've seen them. They don't. They don't act the way I used to, which is, but the kids live up to your expectations. If you tell them all the time, you're worthless, you're never going to amount to anything in this world, oftentimes they don't disappoint you. They don't. If you tell them all the time, you don't do anything good around here, and they get frustrated and they don't, I guess I'll just give up doing anything good. If you tell your kids, I want to encourage you to do your best whenever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And oftentimes they will live up to that expectation and they will do their best. Maybe not to they have to be perfect, but they will do their best. And what else can you ask of them? To do their best. So if you want them to go out and be great citizens and to know Jesus and to be a good family member, expect that of them. Here's your expectations. Every kid wants to go out somewhere. Out's too big of a place. Get a little bit more specific. Where do you want to go? Oh, you're going to go to this place. And you're going to go with these people. My question for every one of my daughters are there going to be boys there? And that's just your universal question, right? But all these, get specific. And the lovely thing nowadays that we didn't have when I was growing up, we have cell phones. Everybody's got a cell phone. Hey, Dad, plans changed a little bit. We expect a phone call to tell us if something's changed. Wonderful invention there with that cell phone. Some people will do this. They will put an alarm clock in the bathroom. This is the time that I hope they'll be home. We've told them to be home. I'm going to go to bed. I don't have to worry about this. If that goes off and they're not home, then we can worry about it. But they set some expectations and set them so that they're agreed upon. Yep, I need you to be home at 11 o'clock. Dad, can it be 2? 10:30. Oh, can it be 2 o'clock? 10 o'clock. Oh, 11 o'clock sounds great, right? And then we work on it. But set some expectations. Expect them to do what they're supposed to. And then have a conversation about it. But your kids will live up to your expectations. Let me give you, I have 2 more. This one's kind of fun. We're going to treat our kids as gifts from God. We need to parent by example. And for all of us hypocrites in here right now, it's okay. We can be honest with each other. We don't do all these things. We are as flawed as our children. But every one of our kids, it's a universal gift. They can pick out your inconsistencies in life without batting an eye. Dad, you're doing this, but you tell us not to. What's the deal? Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that. But we know these things. It's a gift. They can effortlessly detect our inconsistencies. But that brings us to the idea that we need to do differently. We need to do this differently. For the sake of our kids, we need to take things seriously. I bring this up because it was such a huge example. There was a soccer coach that, a notorious yeller. And sports teams, the coaches that are, and they disagree about everything, and nothing's ever good. And some coaches have to be disciplined for that. In soccer, you give them yellow and red cards and you say, see ya, go. We'll start the game without you, however you do it. But that was this coach. Just a bad example. And then there was this year, it was a couple of years ago. All of a sudden things changed. And I had grown to be able to talk with this guy about this. So I said, hey, what's going on? Well, my son and I talked, and we just agreed that we were going to do it differently this year. You see, his son was getting in the same trouble on the field because he's watching his dad. His dad, as the coach, is yelling at all the refs, and he's getting in trouble, and the kid was doing the same. But he's just mirroring what the dad was doing. He is just mirroring the bad example of the parent. And they talked. And it was the best year for the son. It was the best year for that coach. Because they said, I need to parent by example. I need to show that example for my kid. We need to do that. Our kids are gifts from God. They deserve us as much as possible. Take it seriously what we're showing, our example to them. As dysfunctional as we are, as inconsistent as we are, talk about it. Say, yeah, I messed up. I'm sorry. This is not acceptable for me. It's not acceptable for you. And change it. Because our kids will learn from us. What are we teaching them? Let me give you one last one. It might be the most important. Do we need to make sure our kids know that we love them? And say, oh yeah, my kid knows that I love him. I let him sleep under my roof. I'm threatening to put him out in the shed, but no, I haven't gotten there yet. But I'm letting him sleep in his bed. I give him food. Of course they know I love them. Do they? When is the last time that you said, I love you? And then just stopped? I do love you. You know that I love you, don't you? Because oftentimes they don't. They're so stuck in, my parents only want this for me, and they hate me. They don't want me to be me. They're always picking on me. They don't trust me. I'm not even sure they know about me. They're all wrapped up in their world. I don't think they love me. One thing that I've tried to do as often as possible is I didn't want my kids to go to bed after we've had one of those parental disagreements. I'll just say it that way. I didn't want them to go to bed thinking, oh, Dad's just the ogre of the house. He's bigger than everybody else. So I guess I got to do what he wants to. But when I get bigger, and I didn't want them to go to bed angry with me if I could at all help it. Thinking that maybe I didn't love them, or I only loved them if they did what I wanted them to. And some of them I had to work at it harder than others, and some we were able to work it out and perfect. But some of them I really had to work at it and say, all right, I know that you're angry yet. When we go into their bedroom before they went to bed, and I know that you're angry about this yet. But I love you. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay. But I wanted them to hear that I love them, that I care about them. And then whatever age your kids are, I think that that's what is important. You're a child of God. You are loved by Him. You are a gift to me, and I mess that up all the time. I am sorry. But I love you. And I'm trying my best on this one. A couple of years, the last time I talked about parenting, it was like 2 years ago. And I gave the story of a dad who had some distance between him and his daughter. And we talked about it, and I said, what if you just wrote her a letter? I don't know about that. Every time we talk, it seems like we're arguing about certain things. I don't like her husband. I don't like the way that the kids, they don't know Jesus, and they're not being brought up to know Jesus. I don't know. I said, how about this? Write a letter as if this is the last letter that she will ever get from you. Or look at it this way, that you only had 5 minutes to talk with her before you were shipped off to Alaska where they have no cell phones. I don't know if they have cell phones out there, but you were never able to talk with her again. What if there was only 5 minutes? What would you tell her? And let me give you the update. The update was the dad wrote this letter. And he's just poured out his soul and his heart to her and said, I love you. I'm such a problem solver, and I look at your marriage situation and that this guy is a problem, and I want to solve it for you. And your kids, I want to solve that for you. And I'm so sorry, but that's just who I am as a dad. I'm the problem solver. But I love you. I love your kids. I want the best for you. And after the letter, he went and talked with her. And they talked, and he even talked with the son-in-law, and we got some things in common there. And then they talked a little bit, and then there was a reuniting of, I love you. I know that you love me. And I want the best for you. For us today, the way we had 5 different ideas there, but it's the idea of our kids are gifts from God. And we want to show them God's love and how we love them still. We pray that when we ask God, would you help us do the best in all of our flaws, at whatever age? God, help us to do our best. Forgive us for our flawed parenting, because we are. Sometimes we're just awful at it. God, forgive us for that. And we trust that you will do the impossible. That you'll lead us and grow our kids and our families as you want them. May He bring healing to all of our broken hearts. May He, our God, help us as parents, help our children know that they are gifts of God. Let's pray that is our hearts today. Pray with me.